So you want to be a breeder, do you?
You want to take your Pokemon game to the next level by using the most effective way of customizing your Pokemon, do you?
You've come to the right place. Now, breeding seems complicated.
There are a lot of things to consider. There are a lot of rules to follow.
But if you listen up, we'll take you from daycare dud to egg move expert in no time.
I'm Nursery Aide Alex.
And I'm Pokekellz.
And this is the Dex Trainer Tips and Beginner's Guide to Breeding.
We sound so cool.
Today's trainer tips will be broken down into 5 lessons. What is Pokemon breeding? Why is breeding important? Which Pokemon can breed? How to breed Pokemon? And special breeding.
Pokemon breeding is a game mechanic that was introduced in the second generation of Pokemon games, Gold and Silver. It is a method of making new or additional Pokemon by obtaining and hatching a Pokemon egg.
In each main series Pokemon game, there is a daycare at which you can leave your Pokemon with the daycare man and the daycare lady to be looked after. In Red and Blue, you can only leave 1 Pokemon at a time at the daycare, but in every subsequent game, you can leave 2.
Pokemon gain experience and can be leveled up while at the daycare, and will learn moves if it reaches a level that the move can be learned at. The daycare's main purpose, though, is to breed your Pokemon. Everything
that happens at the daycare is determined by the player's steps, so the more you walk around while your Pokemon are in daycare, the higher the chance will be that something will happen there. Daycare centers are located south of Goldenrod City in Gen 2,
west of Mobile City in Gen 3,
Salacion Town in Gen 4,
and Route 3 in Gen 5.
Tight, that was easy.
Too easy.
Breeding Pokemon is beneficial in a number of ways. By breeding, you can obtain moves that Pokemon can't normally learn, influence your Pokemon's nature, and even go so far as to alter their individual values. If you don't know what those terms mean, go watch our vocabulary episode, you dingus!
There are also certain Pokemon that can only be obtained through breeding, which are called baby Pokemon. Many of these require the parents to be holding an incense item when placed in the daycare.
The long and short of it is this. If you want to stand a chance in the competitive world of Pokemon, breeding is the only way to efficiently get a Pokemon with the right moves, nature, stats, and abilities all in one package.
If you want to become a competitive battler, you're going to be doing a lot of breeding and egg hatching.
It's best to have the basics down to become a swift, efficient breeder because it'll give you more time to focus on the training and the butt kicking.
Butt kicking? You can't think of any term that's less crude than that.
Posterior bunting. Booty booting.
I like that one. There is a lot to remember when it comes to breeding. We'll start with how to breed for the Pokemon that you want.
Remember that the Pokemon you are breeding for will always be the same species as its mother. If you want a Riolu, you need to have a female Lucario or Riolu and a male who belongs in the same egg group as the female.
Egg groups classify Pokemon into different categories. Usually, Pokemon in the same egg group are similar in some way or share a similar habitat. Currently, there are 15 egg groups, but there's always the possibility of more in the future.
Every Pokemon, with the exception of a few that are not able to breed, belongs to 1 or more egg groups, and these define the Pokemon it can breed with. If 2 Pokemon do not have at least 1 egg group in common, no eggs for you.
Sure enough, egg groups can make for some pretty interesting combinations. For example, Zangoose and Seviper can breed even though they are mortal enemies, and you can even get a successful pairing between a Skitty and a Wailord. I'm not even gonna try to touch how that one works.
Yuck. Anyway, if there's one Pokemon that all breeders should know and love, that Pokemon is Ditto. Ditto can breed with any Pokemon capable of breeding regardless of gender, so though you usually need a female to get the species you want, you can get your Riolu by breeding with a male Lucario or Riolu with a Ditto.
After leaving your Pokemon at the daycare, go out for a stroll, but stay close by because soon enough the old man will flag you down and tell you about this weird egg he found.
The amount of time it takes an egg to appear depends on how compatible the Pokemon are with one another. This can be roughly checked by talking to the daycare man, but really, as long as you keep walking, an egg will eventually show up.
Once you get your egg, it's back to walking around again. Each species of Pokemon requires a certain number of egg cycles to hatch. One egg cycle is 255 steps in the game, so hatching can take some time. Be sure to have a Pokemon in your party with the ability Flame Body or Magma Armor because that halves the hatching time. And I also recommend making good use of the bike.
Soon enough, your egg will crack and out will pop a new baby Pokemon. Congratulations!
Those are the basics, but there are so many other things to consider when breeding. Let's talk about how hold items influence your little hatchlings.
Baby eggs can't hold any items, so it's gotta be about what all the parents are holding.
We're gonna go over a few of the essential ones for your breeding excursions.
When one of your Poke parents holds an Everstone while at the daycare, it will pass down its nature to the baby Pokemon. Natures are extremely important in stat growth, so this will be one of your go-to items.
Incense items help create baby Pokemon. When a parent holds a specific incense when breeding, instead of that basic Pokemon hatching from the egg, you'll get a smaller, cuter baby Pokemon. Very useful for completing your Pokedex as well as getting certain moves.
You may know the power items from our EV trading guide, but in breeding Pokemon, these items pass down the individual value of the stat they focus in from parent to offspring. These items can help you pass good stats down to your eggs. It is possible to breed a Pokemon with maximum IVs in every stat, but it's such a long and complex process that we're not going to go there today. Just know power items are involved.
Great, now everyone's an expert.
Nope, there's more. Keep this in mind, folks. Female Pokemon pass down their species and are also the only ones that can pass down a Dream World ability. Males can't.
Male Pokemon can pass down TM moves and egg moves, and either parent can pass down its nature to the hatchling. However, its ability is randomly selected from those available for the Pokemon.
Cool, but you didn't explain what egg moves are yet.
Oh right, here goes. Egg moves are moves that a Pokemon cannot learn through leveling up or TMs. For example, Lucario really does well with the move Bullet Punch, but doesn't learn it on its own. So you have to use a Pokemon that has it to breed onto a little Riolu.
Find a Pokemon in Lucario's egg group that can naturally learn Bullet Punch. In this case, you have to use Hitmonchan, so you gotta use a female Lucario.
Teach that Hitmonchan Bullet Punch through level up and leave it in the daycare with a lady Lucario. In no time, an egg will appear. Remember, though the Hitmonchan are always male, if you use a different Pokemon to pass a move, it also has to be male.
When your egg hatches, your Riolu will have Bullet Punch! Hurrah! However, now you have to check to make sure the nature and ability are right, so even with the best of planning, getting your perfect end result can take a few tries to get right.
Don't give up though. When you do finally get everything you need, you'll feel like a king, and you'll love that Pokemon all the more when it's fully trained and ready to boot some booty.
Fabulous. So is that all they need to know about Pokemon breeding then?
That's the gist of it, though there is one thing we'd better mention or else we may get flamed for all eternity.
Whoa, harsh. What is it?
The famous Matsuda method. Everybody loves shiny Pokemon, but they're so elusive. Luckily, there's a bit of special programming written into the game by Mr. Matsuda himself to help with your chances of getting a shiny, and it's all about breeding.
The normal chance of encountering a shiny Pokemon is 1 in 8,192. However, if you breed 2 Pokemon from different language games, that chance increases to 1 in 1,366. So much better!
Additionally, if you've got the shiny charm item for completing your Pokedex in Black and White 2, and one of the parents holds it while using the Matsuda method for breeding, the success rate of getting a shiny goes down even further to 1 in 1,024. The chance still isn't great, but it's much more likely. Pretty cool stuff.
Those are the basics of breeding, ladies and gents. There is a lot of info to remember, but as long as you keep organized and persevere, you'll be hatching those perfect little Pokebabies in no time.
If you have any additional breeding tips that we didn't cover in today's episode, feel free to leave those in the comments below, and be sure to ask questions if there's still something you're confused about.
I'm Nursery 8 Alex.
And I'm Pokekellz. Tune in next week for another colorful episode of The Dex.
You want to take your Pokemon game to the next level by using the most effective method of drop the bass.